I'm aware that Good Friday is not the best day for explanations. I know from my time as a pastor that you can't theologize about the death of a loved one when the loved one has just died. The experience is too raw, the wounds of bereavement too deep for anything meaningful to be said. Likewise, I probably shouldn't theologize the Messiah's death when he hangs on a cross. Many of you just want to look on in sadness. So please don't let my words get in the way of raw experience or deep emotion that you may be feeling about the death of our Lord, about the death of someone you love. But others of you might be asking, why did Jesus need to die on the cross? To which the most responsible answer we can give is, because God decided that's what was best. But this leads to all sorts of follow-up questions, such as, is that what God really wants for his son? Or doesn't that mean God is cruel? From the earliest days, Christians have recognized that it's a problem for God to require the death of Jesus. So the oldest gospel, Mark, has Jesus distressed and agitated about his impending death. And on the night before he dies, Jesus prays. Mark's gospel recognizes that it's a problem for God to require the death of Jesus, and so Jesus says, Abba, Father, for you all things are possible. Remove this cup from me. Yet not what I want, but what you want. Mark's gospel seems to say that Jesus would have preferred another outcome, a different cup for him to drink. Yet not what I will, but what you will. In answer to why did Jesus need to die on the cross, it's as if Mark's gospel responds, because God decided that was what's best, even if Jesus wasn't so sure. John's gospel knows that Jesus has every right to be terrified about his impending death. And we find Jesus saying, now my soul is troubled. But Jesus goes on, and what should I say? Father, save me from this hour? No, it is for this reason that I have come to this hour. Father, glorify your name. In answer to why did Jesus need to die on the cross, John's gospel answers resoundingly, because God decided that that's what's best. For in going to his death willingly, Jesus glorified God's name. As we look through the history of the church, others have considered why Jesus needed to die on the cross. One theologian in the Middle Ages, Thomas Aquinas, said God chose this for Jesus out of tender mercy for us. Because human skins have grown thick. Because human hearts have grown hard. Because we're so caught up in ourselves, the only thing that could wake us up was the death of God's Son. What else could cause humans finally to stop and take notice? What else would lead them to say, enough is enough? To paraphrase, God's severity in seeming to require such violent satisfaction is tender mercy for the moral cynicism of human beings. Only such an act can capture human attention. Just look at the news. Just look at our favourite TV shows or movies. Just look at my kids' video games. We demand blood or we won't pay attention. What appears as God's severity in requiring his Son to die is, in fact, our severity. It is our lust for blood, our moral degradation that leads Jesus to die on the cross. Out of tender mercy, on the cross, God has met us in the Son, met us where we are, and brought us home to God. That is what Jesus' death on the cross has to do with you and me. In the face of human bloodlust, each of us is called to recognize our common humanity, our common failing. We have let an innocent person die a horrific death on the cross. It has been pointed out that we build up our false selves on the principle that we are right and good enough, that evil lies outside us, incarnated in them, villains, criminals, refugees, immigrants, rebels, addicts. These are the people on whom in our self-righteousness we love to gaze in print or on the web. But what if I and them should give way to we? Then a new self with a new centre would have to be found. The cross kills the old self, which was based on the fiction that others are guilty. This Good Friday, we acknowledge our guilt. We acknowledge our complicity in the sin and horror that led God's Son to die on the cross to get our attention. We acknowledge that to say the others are guilty is fiction, best-selling fiction to which we're addicted. Only when we are honest about our complicity can you and can we see why the cross can reconcile us with each other and with God. With our eyes fixed on the cross, Jesus offers us all a new self with a new centre. Jesus says, "Very truly I tell you, unless a grain of wheat falls into the earth and dies, it remains just a single grain. But if it dies, it bears much fruit." We, a new community with a new centre, are the fruit of Jesus' death on the cross.